All right, well, thank you again. It is 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We are going to go ahead and get started with today's Total Care webinar. My name is Matt McLaughlin, and I am also joined by Steve Webster. We'll be hearing from him very shortly. And I just wanted to just give you a couple minutes of introductions here. We're going to be talking about the power of Google Apps Script today, which is always very, very exciting. So thank you again for joining us. And for those of us that are not familiar with the GoToWebinar interface here, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. So, excuse me. You'll notice that you are listed as an attendee here, and your name will be listed here, and you will either have a green microphone or a green telephone icon there with a red line through that. By default, you are muted due to just less interruptions throughout the presentation. But you do have a couple of ways to ask questions throughout the webinar today. Two ways to do that. The first way is to, pardon me, I do apologize. The first way is to raise your hand that you'll see in the little sidebar located there. What we'll do is throughout the presentation we'll monitor the hands being raised. We are covering a lot of data today, so we may encourage you to go the second route, which would be to enter your questions into the questions panel here. And we have a couple of my colleagues that are monitoring this questions panel, so we'll be able to either answer the question throughout the presentation as best as we can, or due to the amount of data that we are covering today, we'll do our best to end it and answer those questions in the Q&A session at the end. And we do have a lot of examples, so some of your questions might be answered throughout the presentation as well. So just wanted to give you a heads up that you can always raise your hand, and you can enter the questions in the questions panel. If you do run into an issue with audio here, if you are using your microphone and speakers, and something does happen, you can always select Use Telephone, and it will prompt you with a phone number and access code to dial in, and you'll still be able to view the screen there. So any questions about GoToWebinar, just let us know. So really quickly, I just wanted to talk about what Dido is and how Dido can help your business. So Dido is a value-added service company for Google Apps. The product company is Google. They provide the product Google Apps, and we provide all the services that do come along with that. And these services are listed here when it comes to training and communication, which you are receiving today. We also deal with deployment planning and project management. We also have a strong team in the data migration and legacy systems integration field. We perform custom application development, and we do offer total care support, which is administrative support for your Google Apps domain. So if you are interested in any of these services, please let us know. We'll be providing the contact information at the end of the webinar today. So today's agenda, we are going to discuss what is Google Apps Scripts, short known as GAS. And next question is, where can I use GAS, Google Apps Script? We're going to talk about a couple of examples of Google Apps Script, creating a spreadsheet function, which is replacing long formulas that we're all used to. We're going to talk about updating a website, submitting a form to generate a quote, which is always very useful, and also talk about shared group contacts. So that's actually, we're really excited about this one today. Pardon me. We're really excited about this because we have a little surprise for everybody at the end. And we'll also discuss a few resources that we have in place as well for you all. So really quickly, I'd like to run a quick poll, and just going to have a quick question for you guys to answer. And we're looking at the slide now, what is Google Apps Script? And we just kind of want to get a feel for how much everybody knows about Google Apps Script. So I'm going to run this poll here, and the poll is, how much do you know about Google Apps Script at this time? So take a few seconds to go ahead and register your vote there, and we'll go ahead and provide you with the results here very shortly. Looks like we have about half of us that have voted here. Thank you very much for your participation. And we've got about another 5 seconds. We'll keep it open. We got about 80% voted, and we're going to go ahead and close that poll. Great results here. I'll go ahead and show you these. It looks like 60% of us know enough to get yourself in trouble, which can be a good and bad thing. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Steve Webster, and he's going to talk about what Google Apps Scripts are. Everyone, this is Steve Webster, our in-house Google Apps script expert, and take it away.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much. And welcome everybody to the Google Apps Script webinar. I'm really excited to share what I know, and things that I don't know, I'll be honest, and I'll look it up for you, and we'll follow up with you. Well, let's get started here. Let's first define what this Google Apps Scripts is all about. Well, basically, let me just read a little bit from the slide. It'll be helpful. Google Apps Scripts automate tasks across Google products. It is a JavaScript cloud scripting language, which I'll get into a little bit, that provides easy ways to automate tasks across Google products and other third-party services. For example, we have some listed here. Automate repetitive business processes. Now, most businesses, they go through a process of manual labor doing this and that. Well, it's possible with scripts to leverage the power of app scripts to do things such as expense approvals, timesheet tracking, and so forth. Another item is we can link Google products with third-party services. It's possible to link to like MySQL databases. Another option is create custom spreadsheet functions, which we'll be getting into here very soon. For example, let's say you have a conditional formula. It gets long formula to write. Well, we can simplify that whole matter. And another area is you can actually build and collect user inputs through pop-up screens. So in other words, it's like building your own mini applications. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the next slide.
All right, Steve, I'm going to give you presenter rights here. There you are, Steve. So now we have access to your screen. When you're ready to show it, you can go ahead and we'll touch on the next slide.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now we're looking for my screen, and the next slide I have is where can I use Google Apps Scripts? Well, right now, Google Apps Scripts is designed to be associated with spreadsheets and Google Sites. Now, if you're interested, from a spreadsheet, you would click on Tools, click on Scripts, and then Script Editor, which launches the editor. Now, if you want to build scripts from sites, from a site page, you have more actions once you have editing rights to a website. So we click on that, and then from that drop-down, there's a selection called Manage Site. So you would click on that, and then the next screen will display some other options. In this case, you will find that there's an App Scripts option, and then finally, from there, if you haven't written any scripts yet, you would simply click Launch the Editor. Okay, let's move on. This is the fun part of the webinar. If you're like me, you appreciate examples. From examples, we can become like editors rather than creators of a script. Now, what I usually do, I'll look around for existing examples that I'll show you in our resource segment today, where Google has like a help site for app scripts, and they have some great getting started tutorials. So why should we recreate the wheel? Okay? In other words, I will go in there myself, find some code that I know works, copy that piece of code in, and then manipulate that. It's a lot quicker that way. All right, so let's go ahead and show you some scripts here. The first one is replace long, complex formulas with a script. Now here is a spreadsheet, and as you notice, we have tools. If you click Tools and go into Scripts, and then Script Editor, it will display the Google Script Editor. Now let's just go over a little overview of this, because I think some of you aren't familiar with this yet. We have File, Segment, Edit, View, run certain functions, you can share. We have triggers. In fact, triggers is interesting. You can invoke it based on time. Let's say you want to run a script in the middle of the night, or maybe you want it run every couple minutes. You can enter time scripts. And of course it has a help section. And then they have some other shortcut items down here as well. Now as far as writing functions, as I said, I try not to start from scratch. I copy something myself and I edit it. But in this case, we're going to go over and demonstrate how you can replace a long formula with a script. In other words, we're creating our own Google Spreadsheets function. We're customizing it. So in this case, I'm giving it a name called Get Profit Percent. And it's passing in what I would call like two parameters, organization type and a sales dollar. And then from here, when we use this language, it's called JavaScript. And there are resources that I'll show you. And one great resource I like, by the way, is w3schools.com. It takes you from not knowing anything about, in this case, JavaScript, to get acquainted with it and to write simple functions. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot of lines of code here to write one. And let me just go over some of this logic for you. This is a variable. And then instead of having if, then, else, there's an option called switch. Depending on the organization type value that's being passed into this function, for example, if the value is other that's being passed in here, it says if it's other, perform these if conditions. However, if the organization type is something church or school, quote unquote, then perform this action. And then there's a default with the switch command as well. And then when this is done, it will return the results of profit percent. And if you recall, that's a variable. And that variable is being assigned based on these conditions. Now, if this was written in a formula, it would be very long and cumbersome with a lot of if conditions. But as you can see, it's a lot easier to structure your function in this case. All right, so try to remember some of the stuff that we have here. And what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you church or school organization type and a sales value between this range here, between 750 and 1,000, which should return 25. So let's go back. I'm going to close this. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. If I double click here, you'll see that I have the get profit percent function that we have just written, right? And we're passing in two parameters. In this case, we're passing in the value of B2, which is church or school, and we're passing in the parameter value C2, which happens to be this value, 760. So if you recall, as a result, it should come back with 25, and indeed it does. So that's one example of leveraging Google Apps Scripts, the power of it, to create your own functions in spreadsheets. All right, let's continue. Matt, do you have a poll question for us?
I do here. I'm going to go ahead and get another poll question out for us all, and thanks for that great first example, Steve. We're going to go ahead and run a new poll here. So if everybody sees their screen here, Google Apps Scripts leverages JavaScript. How do you feel about that? Let's take a few minutes to, or a few seconds to vote on that. And we'll get the results up to you all very shortly. It's about half of us have voted now. Really appreciate your cooperation here. All right, so about 75% of us have voted. I'll leave it open for another 5 or 6 seconds, and we'll go ahead and close it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Thank you, everybody, for answering that question. We're going to go ahead and close, and we'll share the results there. And it looks like a fair amount of you can't wait to learn and get busy. That's good. So kind of in the middle there, we've got a few people that are look like they're experts, and a couple people that are still learning, and that's why you're here today. So hopefully this information will be useful to you. So thanks again, Steve, and take it away.
I'm sorry, thank you. I had you unmute there. I apologize. Anyways, we want to continue on with update a website. There's a nice example that's simple and to the point, but it'll give you an idea of what you can do with sites and scripts. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go into that example. Okay, here I have a domain, a site, and a web page. And in this case, it's displaying some information from my doc list or the doc list itself. Now, let's talk about what a doc list is. When we go into Google Apps, we have things like documents up here. And the first screen that comes up is the doc list. And from the doc list, we can have collections, or what used to be called folders. So that's what I'm referring to. So in this case, I have a script that's pulling information from my docs list, displaying it on a website where, in other words, this is one takeaway I would like to share with you. It is possible, instead of using like the edit page, it's possible to leverage scripts to build your sites, or at least certain pages of a site. So let's go ahead and show you an example of the code by clicking on More Actions, Manage Site, and App Scripts. And here I have 3 of them. We're going to focus on collections. I'll click on that. So on this function here, I just wanted to quickly go over a couple things, not bore you too much with the coding, but it's important to emphasize a couple things. Now, for example, as you go into the tutorials of getting started with Google Apps Scripts that Google has provided, you'll see that there's a segment for doc lists. In this case, it's a command to get a folder. And this is the folder name, LAFD in this case. That stores it in this variable. And then once I've identified the folder, I can then follow up by saying, for this variable folder that has this LAFD collection of files, let's go ahead and get those files. It stores it in here. And then we get into the script stuff for sites. And one way to build on this is to break down your variables. Instead of putting everything in one line, you can make it a little bit more structured. In this case, let's define the domain name. Well, here at Dido, our domain name is Dido Web. The site name, in this case, is this. And here's the command that's part of the tutorial process and the documentation that I looked up, and it's called Sites App. And then within Sites App function, we can get site, and it needs some parameters. It needs to know the domain and the site name, which is what we're passing here. Then the next step is, it's like, okay, well, let's get the web page. So we list the web page here, and we get that information. Then to speed things up, we have some other variables such as files text. It's going to be a string variable, okay? And what I'm doing here, I'm using some HTML, which of course you could pick up some basic commands yourself. And I define certain sizes with this command, and I start a row of information. I add in some information that we're getting, for example. The files. Remember the files? We're getting our list of files. Well, right over here, I'm taking the first value in this little for loop here. This for loop is basically saying one at a time, go through and list each of the files. So this is just a little script that does that. And then when I'm done, then I use the set HTML content to report what I've done building this file's text and display it on the page. So, as a result, we go back to return site, it goes out, and it displays the information. And I'm also passing in the last update and the people who are sharing with it. So that's one example. And Matt, do we have another poll question?
Yes, we do here. I'm going to go ahead and launch that. Thanks a lot for that, Steve. I appreciate that example. So we have one more poll for you guys. Actually, we have 2 more, and we'll go ahead and launch one now. Are you interested in building Google Sites with scripts? And we'll go ahead and launch that. And if you want to take just a few seconds to vote there, we'll get your feedback, and we really do appreciate your honesty here, because this is something that we could help you with after this session. Excellent. Looks like about 70% of us have voted, closing in on 90%. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and close that poll. I appreciate you taking the time. And let's go ahead and share the results there. It looks like 77% of us are interested in building Google Sites with scripts. So Looks like that was a hit, Steve. Thank you very much.
Excellent. It's always good to get feedback like that. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful.
Okay, we have another example. In this case, I don't want to go into the coding, but I want to show you an example of tying a lot of things together. And one such thing is the snowyfl.com website. So let's go ahead to that. And on this particular website, they sell shave ice. And here they have like a new quote. So the goal is to say, let's speed up the business process of hearing from our potential customers. Let's speed up the process by automatically throwing them a quote that they can respond to. Well, how is this happening? Well, we're leveraging a whole bunch of things. It's like pieces to a puzzle, and you're putting together a nice picture of a puzzle. So let's go over the steps here, or the pieces of this puzzle. The first thing is we're leveraging the existing technology of forms. Now, if you're not familiar with forms, they're always associated to a spreadsheet. And once we go through the form process that I'll do here just shortly, we're going to get to the submit button. And that's where a lot of things happen. When that submit button is clicked, it's going to go out to the company calendar. Is it available? Is that date open for this potential event they want to do? And if it is, it's going to compose an email message automatically. Now, if that date is not available, the content of that email also changes. And by the way, when we compose that email, let's put a nice picture on top to preface the content of the email. Then it's going to generate the quote itself. And all that does, it's using a spreadsheet, and it's cosmetically updating with some formulas as well as leveraging a lot of the scripts to build a quote. And that's going to be available on this website as well. And remember that email that it sends out? It's going to attach it as a PDF. So let's go through and see this in action. So let's enter like a bogus company name here. Type in my name. Type in a valid email so we can see the email that comes back to us. Click Continue. Let's type in an address. And we'll click Continue. How many customers will get this snowy shaved ice treat? Well, let's guess about 400. Organization type. Let's say it's for a church or school. You want a fundraiser? Let's get a fundraiser option here. Click Continue. What's the expected temperature? Let's say it's going to be between 76 and 80. How many total food vendors? Is there going to be competition, or is it just the snowy for this particular event? We'll just say that. And we'll do a minimum of $2 and click Continue. And we're almost done. Let's say since it's a church or school, they're going to be sales tax exempt. Click Continue. Now, when are we going to have this date? Well, let's pick 02/28/2011. And how many days in a row will this event be? It's just going to be, we'll just say 1 day. And the start time, let's say it's 1,300 hours, which is 1 o'clock. And the event will last for about 3 hours. We'll click Continue. And this will be an outdoor with a kiosk. And we'll enter a comment here and click Submit. Now, if you recall, when you click Submit, there's a trigger in the script that says, on submit, fire off the script. Do all of its magic. So here we go. We're going to click Submit, and the magic is happening behind the scenes, and it's doing it rather quickly. Let's go over what it's doing. It's saying it's generated a quote report. If the date is available, the snowy calendar was updated with a tentative quoted status. And if the email that was entered during the form process was valid, it's going to send a quote via email. And if that person has a Google Calendar, it's actually going to throw an invitation on their calendar as well. So let's click here to see the results first within the web page here. And as we can see, it has done just that. It's cosmetically putting it together so it looks pretty nice. It throws in the information that we entered. In fact, there's even a little extra script within some formulas here to leverage Google Maps to get the distance. And it enters that information over here, and it gives an estimated donation, and it has some other information. All right, so now we want to see the results of it going to the customer. Well, I entered my email address, so I did receive the quote. Let's open that up. And sure enough, it does embed this image. It does have the information. In this case, it does say that the requested event start date and time is available. Now, if it wasn't available, it would have different content here. And then it has the attached quote, which is the same thing that we saw on the website, but it converted it to PDF. So we click View, leverage the Google Apps viewer, and as you can see, it sent what we saw on the website to our customer automatically. It's just amazing the power of AppScripts. You click Submit, and all this activity occurs. But we're not done. Let's go ahead and take a look at the calendar. Let's refresh the calendar. The 28th should be populated. Let's refresh it. And sure enough, there it is. So the Submit button sent it to the customer. If they had a Google Calendar, it threw an invitation out there. In this case, the script put some information on there. It says test company has requested this date and time for the event. It's not yet booked. And there's a note here that says it was created automatically from the online quote process on this particular date and time. So that is just amazing to me what you can do with just one script. Now the script is more than 10 lines of code by far, but that's what we have. All right, Matt, do we have one more poll question for our friends?
We do. That was a great example, Steve. I have a feeling that a lot of businesses and companies can definitely benefit from that type of script. So let's go ahead and run the last poll here. What business processes would you like to automate? And we'll go ahead and run that. And this, I believe, is you can select all that apply. So just a couple of examples there, and I know there are additional ones that we could choose from, but we just wanted to put a few out there to kind of get a feel for what you would like to have automated. And it looks about half of us have voted. We'll keep it open for just a few more seconds, and we'll go ahead and show the results. All right, well, about 90% of us have voted, so thank you all again. Let's go ahead and close this, and we'll share the results there. It looks like it's pretty even except for the others. So it looks like a lot of us have purchasing, online quotes, sales, processes that we would like to have automated, and a few of us have other ideas. So we're looking forward to hearing from you at the end of this session about some of the other processes that you would like to have automated, because we can definitely lend a hand here at Dido. So thank you again very much. And Steve, I believe you have a few more resources that you would like to talk about. Actually, you have another example there. Sorry about that. So please go ahead.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Matt. Well, that was a very good poll. I mean, it's pretty much even across there, and that was just some ideas of what some automation that could occur. So that's encouraging. I hope you're getting excited like I am about what you can do with this simple JavaScript language that we call Google Apps Scripts. All right, please pay attention to this example. Why? We are going to offer this script to anyone who wants it. It is yours for the taking. So as I go through the example, review it, and if you want it, take it. You can then take the coding, you can build on it, you can make changes to it to customize it for yourself. So we are offering this for you for today. So let's go ahead and visit the shared group contacts. Okay. This script is associated to a spreadsheet, and what we want to do is consider some functionality with contacts. As you know, with contacts, it's possible to create groups and share certain things. But one thing that it currently doesn't have as part of their functionality is this scenario, and it's this. Let's say I create my own private group of contacts. and I know 3 or 4 other associates where I really want to share this contact list with. Well, we've written a script here to do just that. It's possible to create your contact list, identify those people who you want to share it with, it sends an email to them. The email includes a link. Once they click on the link, they then have an option to say, well, upload that contact list to my personal contact list with that group name and its contents. So let's go ahead and go through the script. First of all, it's possible to write the script to create a menu. In this case, I've called it Contact Group Menu. And we have some information about the script and the actual performance of it. So let's first click on About this script. And this is an example where scripts, you can create your own pop-up screens. So in other words, this pop-up functionality with spreadsheets isn't there, okay? However, using the power of Google Apps Script, you can create your own pop-ups. And you have different types of panels, as they call them. In this case, I decided to do it in this way to save some space. Instead of having multiple panels, I just simply have these tabs up here. So for the overview, let's see what it says. You have a private group in contacts. Now you want to share your private group with others. But Gmail Contacts does not have this functionality. It only has private or domain level. So this spreadsheet and script solves that limitation. So let's learn a little bit more. Let's click on Share Group. The Share Group menu option contains a pop-up window with a drop-down selection of all your groups. Once you select a group, it will populate the master sheet within the spreadsheet. It also guides you through the remaining steps. In other words, I built it like a wizard. So, email template. The email template sheet, which is of course found down here on our spreadsheets, can be used to customize the email that will be sent to all the group members listed within the Share Group Members sheet. And the Upload group. Well, the main contact group menu for group members will only list one option, that is Upload Groups. Once selected, the group name and email addresses and the contact fields are updated. And then it has a note there about protecting the sheets. So let me explain this a little bit further. What it's saying is, right now, it has 2 options. But when this email is sent and they come back to the spreadsheet, they're not going to have 2 options. They're just going to have one option that will upload. So that's got some security built into it to not mess with what you've done. So let's go ahead and go through this. Share your group. All right, so I built this like a wizard do step 1 through step 6. In other words, it's nice to select certain panels when you create these pop-up windows like this, to think through what type of panel do I want to display to like conserve space, not having so many pop-ups that occur and so forth. So in this case, step 1, select one of your contact groups you want to share with others. So in this case, I got a little creative since I'm down here in the Orlando area. I created a Disney test group. So in this case, I'll select that because it went out to my private groups associated to my email account within Dido. It found it and it brought back the results right here. Let's go to step 2. Click on Continue Now. So let's click on Continue. And it takes us to the Shared Group Members sheet. To share your contact group with others, you must first update the Shared Group Members sheet, which is where we're at. The script did that automatically. And then it says insert your email under the owner column, which is cell B2. All right, so let's enter my address here. And let's go to step 3. All right, insert the emails of those with whom you want to share your group with, beginning at cell A2. All right, so let's say I have, remember the scenario I painted earlier? You might have 3 or 4 associates you want to share your this private group with. Well, you would list them here in this A column. In this case, I'm just going to enter 1 for our demonstration today. And I'm going to go outside of our domain here and go to a Gmail account I have, if I can type it right. and that seems to be correct. And step 4 in our wizard says click on continue now. Click that, and what it does, it takes us to the email template sheet within the spreadsheet. It says you can customize the email within the email template sheet. Drag this window to the right so we can see it better. Click on in the cell to customize your email message. And I threw in a little tip here. Once you're in here, you can press Control Enter to advance to a new line. So if I wanted to customize this, this is the time to do it. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep the default message for our email. So let's click on step 5 in our little wizard here. And it says manually protect each of your sheets. In other words, we have the master sheet here, we got shared group members, and email template. It says until a protect sheet function within our scripts becomes available, you need to manually protect each sheet by clicking on each one and selecting the protect sheet and the only me option. In other words, if I click here and protect sheet, that's what we're talking about. There isn't a script that does this for us automatically today. I'm sure it's coming down the road. I don't know when, but for now, we just have to manually do it. Not that big of a deal. And so why are we doing this? Because only you, the owner, should have control of the group list. So if a lock symbol is not displayed next to the sheet name, example master, then it's not protected from changes. So that's how you would do it. To save time, I'm not going to bother with that for a demonstration. So step 6 is basically if steps 1 through 5 have been completed, now you can click and send the emails button. So when I click send emails, it's going to look here and one at a time send out emails to our list. In this case, it's just going through one email. So let's go ahead and click send emails. The script is done. It has just done that. So we click OK. And now let's hop on over to my Gmail account. Click refresh. And there it is. And it says, I would like to share one of my contact groups with you. By using the shared contact group script, I will be the owner of the group. The script will add the group name, add contacts where necessary, and update contact fields. To add my group to your Google Contacts, click the link below, and when the spreadsheet opens, click on the Contact Group menu and select Upload Group. Thanks. And here's the link. So it's built in. So let's click on that. So what it's doing, it's going to the same spreadsheet, because with Google Apps, we can collaborate on documents like spreadsheets. So it's the same thing. But take note here. Since I'm receiving this information, the script is smart enough to say, you only get one option, upload group. How does it know that? Within the shared members, it looks here. Since this email account is not listed here, it only gives you this option. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and upload the group. And then we get a message up here that says running script upload group. In this case, I got a little error, a little embarrassing, but basically I have a backup plan. I'll investigate why that happened. Maybe it's because I did a few things. Let me try it again just in case if it wants to run a little differently this time. Oh, by the way, whenever you run a script, there's an authorization process that occurs, okay? And you have to go through an authorization, click grant access, and then you click it again, okay? So up here, you would have contacts, and in this case, it errored out for some reason. I apologize. Before I send out this script to everybody, of course, I will indeed troubleshoot some more. But here is our Disney test group. It did bring over the group name. It started adding, in this case, one listing. And that's how that script works. So let's go back to our form here and advance over. And we have some resources here. And as I do a time check, we're doing very good. Very good. And let's see. I want to spend a few minutes to show you how to leverage what Google has provided. and the best place to go is this first reference right here. Okay, so here is the main help. How do you start section here? It has tutorials, it has a user guide, it has API documentation, it has a blog with some recent postings. So let's go into a couple of these. For example, in Docs, it has an overview of what scripts is. So if you haven't been here, you need to come here. Because you may say to yourself, I know nothing about writing script logic or whatever. Well, yes, you can. You can do it. You can come here and just go through this process. It has a nice flow of things of how to get to with scripts. In fact, it highlights certain things. It says with scripts you can interact with spreadsheets, the document lists, contacts, even the Google Finance, calendars, sites, and even maps. So there's a lot of potential with it. And the other thing I wanted to highlight underneath articles is the tutorials. And this is excellent. It starts off with some simple scripts into intermediate and then to advanced level. Remember how I faced my comments by saying, why start from scratch? I have come in here quite often, pull up some of these scripts, and coding in it. I just simply cut and paste into the script launch editor, and then I can modify it. And if I'm not sure what to modify, well, we have the user guide over here on the left. So there's a lot of great information here. It even has a blog and the support. The support area is great to post some questions. Of course, it also has some announcements and getting started stuff, which is good. But you can come here, sign up, and post any questions you have. And there's a lot of people out there who have started from scratch, and now they're kind of like experts, and you can get answers from this forum. So I really encourage you, if you get stuck, you can come here for a resource as well. And here's a link to the tutorials that we just went over. There's the forum that we just went over as well. And JavaScript at W3 Schools. For those who aren't that familiar with JavaScript, I highly recommend this W3 Schools site. They have a lot of types of tutorial, one of which is JavaScript. It's a great way to language and get comfortable with it. It isn't that bad once you go through resources such as this. It really isn't. So when you leverage this type of resource with what Google has in their resource of their examples and tutorials, things are very good. And then here's another resource as well. It's unofficial. Someone's putting together a list of examples that they have done as well. All right, Matt, would you like to talk about the next steps?
Yeah, sure. We'll cover the next steps here right now, and then we'll take any questions that you all may have, and also answer some questions that came in through the questions panel. But what we're going to do is I first wanted to announce that we are going to have a survey that will appear right when you sign out of the webinar. So if you could take just a few minutes to fill that survey out and provide us with your feedback. And everybody that has registered for this, we're going to send an email out giving you these resource links, and we're going to give you the link to review this webinar at a later time if there were some cool things that you saw and you wanted to pick up more on. So a couple of the next steps there that we have is staying up to date on the latest Google Apps features. You can visit our Vimeo channel, which we have vimeo.com/channel/Dido. Also, we are on Twitter at @DidoWeb and @DidoTrainer. You can follow us there. We're also on Facebook and facebook.com/DidoLLC. And we have a Dido blog as well, didoweb.com/blogs. And if you needed to contact us for any reason, if it was for training or any questions about scripts, you could send an email to training@didoweb.com, and we'll get the email to the right party if it's a more focused email. And we also have the phone number there, 855-YES-DIDO, and you can dial there, and it has options for the people that you can reach with extensions. So if we want to go ahead and take any questions that you guys have now, you have the ability to raise your hand, and we can call on you, and you can ask your question. We do have a question in the actual panel here, Steve, if you want to take a look at that. And it was about, can you batch manage either incoming emails by routing them to individuals or batch manipulating all messages with a particular label assigned?
Let's see, I'm trying to understand the question in itself. Can you batch manage either incoming emails by routing them to individuals or batch managing all messages with a particular label?
We can, Stephen, if that's okay with you, we can go ahead and mute you and you can ask your question. Hey, Stephen, can you hear us today?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Hey, Stephen, go ahead and you can ask your question and get Steve a better feel as to how we can answer that for you.
So let's say I have a generic sales email address, but I have specific people that I want to direct a message to. Is there a way that I could filter that incoming message based on some keywords in the message? And then the second part of that is, let's say I've got a folder of messages, and now I want to batch archive or do something with it, manipulate all of them with that label. Is there a way to do that? So we're not going.
So you're referring to, yeah, so Stephen, it sounds like you're referring to interacting with Gmail messages. Is that correct?
From a Google Apps site, though.
Oh, from within a Google Apps site?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me just comment on the Gmail interaction. The script doesn't have Gmail messaging interaction as an option, but of course it does have ability to hit the doc list with the folders and collections. But when you're referring to messages, it sounds more like messages coming from Gmail, so that's a limitation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. If anybody has any further questions, you could raise your hand, and we'll go ahead and take that question, or you can enter your question directly into the question panel here. We'll give you a few moments if you'd like to gather your thoughts. Okay. Well, it looks like we don't have any further questions for you, Steve, today, and we really we do appreciate you taking the time today to provide us with such great information about Google Apps Script. And again, we do have a survey that will be sent out directly after this webinar, so if you can take just a few minutes so we can get some of your honest feedback from today's session. And we look forward to having you join us in our next month's webinar, so keep an eye out for that invitation as well. So if we don't have any further questions, we're going to go ahead and end today's session. Again, we appreciate you guys taking the time to join us today. And Steve, great information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
All right, excellent. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.